afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kayode, and I'm going to present referencing and ethical issues in project writing. Referencing is an important aspect of project writing. Very, very important. The other aspect of this presentation is going to be on ethics. It's also very important, but it is not going to be part of your project. This aspect is often not seen in the project, but yet very important. It has to do with you as a human being, your character, the way you conduct yourself, the way you relate with the society, the way you perceive the project that you are writing. So that is why we said that aspect is not going to be seen in your project per se. When you submit your project, we will not see ethical issues there. The conduct of the project is actually going to see, or is going to be seen on the long run. That is when you now present your project and now we begin to implement the result of a project. It's when we see whether you have conducted yourself very well or you have aligned yourself with standard practice all over the world in the process of your project execution. Let's go to the first answer of the project, which has to do with referencing. During the process of project writing, you must have conducted a lot of research. You must have read a lot of books, consulted a lot of references, articles, chapters in books, even newspapers. Now, when you write your project, there is a way by which all these ones will have to be embedded in the project to properly know where the sources are coming from. Because you, per se, as a researcher, probably at this level, you cannot say something because we assume that you are not known in the field of research. Some people will just talk. Like when Wale Soyinka will say something, and nobody will ask him of the source of information because he is an authority in that field. But when you write projects and you say that so and so happened, you just bring out a figure about population of Nigeria, about population of the country outside Africa, and somebody will put in front of your quotation, you say source. What is your source of information? So, the reference therefore constitutes a section in your project where authors should be properly acknowledged of information that is used in their projects. They are often called sources or citations. That is why you see that people reading your project will put source if you don't put any source there. What is the source of your information? They put question mark if you have not written anything. You just make a statement. So and so happened. You are not an authority. So how did you get that information? So you have to quote the source of information. And we have different forms. They may be in form of quotations. You can quote somebody where you put your quotation marks. You may be paraphrasing somebody. And then you can also manipulate somebody's language. Somebody has said something in this book that you have read, and then you want to repeat the same thing, but you are not going to use his language. You want to present it in your own language, and yet it is not your work. Please, you must find a way, because there is a way of knowing this. Because you are not yet an authority, there is a way of knowing that you are bringing this thing from another source. So you must refer to that person. You must quote the reference and cite the person appropriately. Now, sources of information used in the text are cited in order to authenticate statements, phrases, and quotations. Now, for the purpose of this workshop, we have adopted what we call the UI Manual of Style. Because we have different types, there are variations in the way we render citations, quotations, and references in our projects. We have this one across universities. We have them across countries, across researchers, and so on and so forth. But for the purpose of unity, okay, we have a standard that was adopted by this university. And of course, you know that the university is a reference point in so many areas. So we have adopted this, and as I'm talking to you, a lot of universities within Nigeria have also adopted the UI Manual of Style. And that is what we are going to be talking about. Now, in the UI Manual of Style, citations in the text are acknowledged with author's date, with author, you write the name of the author, and then you put the date in bracket. Or you can put author and then put date in bracket. For instance, if you are going to say that so and so happened in, you say Ogusanwo 2013, for instance, and put it in bracket. You want to say according to Ogusanwo 2013. When you want to say according to Ogusanwo 2013, Ogusanwo author, and then you put that date in bracket. Now let's move on to direct quotations. Please come back. Come back to the last direct quotations. We use quotation marks, okay? And then we include page number in the UI Manual of Style. For instance, Samova and Porter, 1997, points out that language involves attaching meaning to symbols. You put the page. The essence of putting the page is to allow the reader to be able to identify where exactly that thing is written, okay, in the reference that you are going to cite and you are going to refer to later. Then look at this one. Language involves attaching meaning to symbols. Samova and Porter, 1997, and then you put the page and then you close the bracket. Next slide, please. In the case of long quotations, some people may want to quote, you use long quotations. For the purpose of quotations that are more than 40 words, it should be formatted as a freestanding indented block of text without quotation marks. That is, if it is above 40 words. For instance, Watts in 1948 argues that one of the most important phases of our special guest was to get information that would throw light on the generation of the facial pattern that occurs so often in our modern civilization. This has its expression in narrowing and lengthening of the face and the development of crooked teeth. Page 174. That is an example of a quotation that is more than 40 words, and that is the way it should be put. Now, citing quotations with no page number. If you quote from online materials and there are no page number, you are expected to refer to the website. And then you use the paragraph number instead of the author, the page number that could not be found in the source. Now, prevalent rate of antenatal major and minor depression have been estimated in community-based studies to range from 7% to 15% of all pregnancies. You quote the source and then look at the page number, the paragraph number, because the page is unavailable. So when you get that document, you simply go to that paragraph, you will find the source there. Next slide, please. Now, talking about indirect quotation and paraphrasing, page numbers are optional when paraphrasing, although authors are encouraged to include them, especially when it assists the reader to locate the reference in the long piece of text. For instance, giving meaning to specific symbols such as sounds and mark is considered to be the origin of written language. Samova and Porter, 1997, put the page number. Next slide, please. Now, citing references from secondary source, you must have read some books, okay? When you read, you see some quotations inside that book. There are references in a book that you have read. So when you are making reference to that document, when you are citing it, this is the way you do it. For instance, when you find a document like a quote in annex, that is within the word that you have read Claiborne and Drury, and you now wish to refer to that original document, annex. In the text, you write annex 2000 as cited in Claiborne and Drury 2010. Okay? Now, look at that statement. Annex 2000 as cited in Claiborne and Drury 2010 suggests there is an emerging adult stage in the lifespan of women covering young people between the ages of 18 and 25. Next slide. In the text, the name of the original work as well as the work you have read will appear. But when you want to use it, you say as cited in that first document where it first appeared to signify the secondary source. And when you want to list, look at, you want to list your reference. You list Claiborne and Drury, your reference list, and not annex, because you did not read annex. And it is fraudulent for you to quote annex directly, even though it is possible for you to find the source of that annex in the document you have read. But it is wrong for you to quote it, because you did not read it. That is the truth. In fact, it's part of the ethics issue I'm going to talk about. If you did not read any document, it is wrong for you to list that particular or to cite it as if you read it. It is very important. Now, it is important that all references made to books, journals, and other printed documents should be listed at the end of the project. You know, what we have talked about so far are those things that should appear in your text when you are writing. But at the end of the project, you have what you call a list of reference, where you are expected to put all the texts that you have cited, all the things, all the names of the authors that you have cited must appear in the list of reference. It is very important. So, it is important that all references should be listed alphabetically according to surnames of the author of the work cited. Please note that when writing the title of book and essays cited in references, it should be in lowercase. Next slide. Now, all proper nouns, including names of places and persons, must be capitalized at all times. Title of books and journals should be italicized. You put title of books and journals in italics. Then you use full stop to separate aspects of the reference rather than a comma. Now, please note that in the case of citing a journal article, the volume and the number is separated by a dot or full stop, while the page number are further separated by column. References should be cited in the text according to the standard citation system. E.g., Word 1998, you put the page number and then you close brackets. Now, still talking about referencing, there are different types. There are different ways by which you cite books. If it is journal, it is different. If it is a chapter in book, it is different. If it is edited conference proceedings, it is also different. Now look at books. For instance, you have Michel T.R., 1997. The surname of the author will appear first, followed by the initials, and then you have the page. You don't put it in bracket. In some cases, in some universities, their own style is that you put that in bracket. But in the list of references in the UI Manual of Style, we don't put it in bracket. And then the title of that book, Behavioral Patterns of People in Organizations, okay, will now be in italics. That is the title of that book. And again, New York there is the city of publication, and McGraw-Hill is the publisher. So the name of the publisher as well as the city where the document is published must be stated before you talk about the page number. An example also is Bolade A 2005. The implications of child trafficking to contemporary society. A survey of cases in Nigeria, Lagos, and Lagos, Nigeria. Now, okay. Now, Lagos there is the city of publication, published in Lagos by Spectrum Book, and then you have the page number. Now, talking about chapters in edited books. The example I'm going to give, look at Ogunsanwo 2011. There is waste generation and utilization in Nigerian sawmills. In Nigerian sawmills, in Ayeloja AA and Ijoma HG edited book. Chapters in edited books. So the names of the editors must be there. So you say that after stating the title of the book, you must state the names of the editor first. Then the title of the book of readings in forestry, wildlife management and fisheries. It is published by Top Base Nigeria Limited in conjunction with Green Canopy Consultants for Agros. And you must put the ISBN number and then the page. That is the way it is cited. The ISBN number and the page. Now, please calm down a little. The last, okay, here's the next one. The next slide. Article cited from a journal. Like I said earlier, when you are citing an article, the title of the journal, for instance, Mela MB 2000, Choice and the Relative Pleasure of Consequences. That is the title. When after stating the name of the author and the year of publication, the next thing for you to do is to write the title of the book. After the title, then the name of the journal, and the name of the journal is Psychological Bulletin. That's the name of that journal. And then 126, that's number 126, that's volume 126, number 3. 126.3, that's 126, number 3. No, the page, yeah. Bulletin 126, that's volume or bulletin number 26 or volume 26, number 3. 910 to 924, that is the page. Okay? So the volume number separated by a column with the page. Now, look at the other one, Land Road Air 1999. The title is Responsibility and Community Development, and the name of the journal is Human Affairs. That's the name of that journal. Volume 64, page 167 to 169. That is when you are citing journals. Please note that the name of the journal must appear in italics. It must be in italics. Now, talking about edited conference proceedings. Edited conference proceedings. When you go out or you are searching references and you see a proceedings of a particular workshop and you want to quote reference from there, this is the way it is done. This is the example. Ogunsanwo OY and Chasiv and 2010. You have mechanical properties of blue laminated boards of bamboo vulgaris, bambusa vulgaris from Nigeria. J. Kidela and R. Lagana are the editors of that conference proceeding. They edited all the papers in that proceeding. Then you mention the title of the conference or the workshop. Proceedings of 6th International Symposium on Wood Structure and Properties. Zwolle, Slovakia, a city in Slovakia, and then the time, you must also write the time of that conference, between 6 and 10, 2010, and the name of the publisher, published by Abora, and you quote the ISBN number, that is the number that is unique to that particular edited conference proceeding, and then you quote the ISBN number and then the page where it appeared. That is that. Now, still talking about referencing, please ensure that all citations must be included in the text. Everything that is on the list of your reference, you must ensure that they are in the text. You cross-check after you must have read your project. you have looked at the list of references, please cross-check. Take a list, get a sheet of paper, list all the citations that you have listed, that you have cited in your test. Make a sheet of paper and list them. And go to your list of references and tick them. As you see, you tick. You tick the one that you have not seen, please go and find them. If you cannot find them, please go and delete them, because the implication is very great. Now, grave implications in the sense that any reference that is cited but not listed is a pardon. That one is a pardonable offense. We will say that anyway, maybe you forgot to list them. But the one that is not pardonable in academy is that you have a list of reference, and we're able to find one reference that is not cited in your book, in your project. If it is not cited in your project, and we can find it in the list of reference, you must have gone to steal that list of reference from somewhere. It is definitely not your own, because nobody will understand how something that you did not cite will find its way in the list of reference. So it's a pardonable, it's an unpardonable offense in academics. So please ensure that all these ones are done. Now, you are therefore advised to write down all the items cited in the test and ensure that all are listed in the reference book. The list of reference reflects cited materials in the test. Now, references by same author. Let's listen here. References by same authors should be listed chronologically according to the year of publication. If Dr. Akinjobi published 2 articles or 3 in 1 year, you list them in the manner in which they have been published. Akinjobi 2013A, Akinjobi 2013B, and C and D like that. But if you want to cite it, this is the way you cite it. Now, after the first reference and where the second reference for the same author is about to be presented, note that the name of the same author is only represented with a solid line. You just put dash. And that dash is not just a long dash, no. It has to be the same size with the surname. Let's give an example. We'll go to the next slide. We'll see a sample there. Yeah. Look at it all from 2010, Introduction to Logic, Ibadan. That's the home publication. Then the first one, look at the second one, also in 2000, and then you also see 2002B, and then you see the dash. Okay? You don't continue to mention the name of the author again once you have mentioned it in the first place. Now, when you make retrieval from an electronic database, it should be cited in as much the same way as the article in printed sources are cited, just like the ones that we have been talking about in citations from journals. Now, after the standard author, there should be the dates, the article title, the source title, source volume number, page number, information, and so on and so forth. The name of the database provider, if available, should be cited followed by the retrieval date. Because you go to sites today, you find the document. You go tomorrow, you just tell your friend, go to that site, you find the document, but you won't find it again. The date of retrieval is very important for people to be able to make reference to that document. Because the website developers are also on the net, and they have access to your information, and they'll be able to say that this thing that you said you retrieved on this day was not available on their site that day. So those are things that can work against you if you are not very careful. Now, that ends referencing. Now, I said there's another aspect that is also related, okay? Because if you have not done all these ones properly, if your referencing has not been properly done, you can get yourself into trouble. If you cite somebody, for instance, and then the person is not properly cited, is not properly acknowledged, that person can take you to court. And that is what is going to take us to the next aspect of research, which is called research ethics. Now, the term ethics derived from the Greek word ethos, meaning character. I said initially that the manner by which you carry out your research, the character you portray, the societal value that you try to encourage goes a long way in the manner at which you carry out your projects. And these are very, very important. There are issues that are related to projects when it has to do with your character and the way you conduct yourself in project writing. Now, generally speaking, ethics refer to the best of practice in project writing. By implication, research ethics should be referred to as the best practices necessary in any research effort. Go to the next slide, please. Ethical considerations in research. Ethical discussions usually remain detached or marginalized. You have said this. And in fact, some researchers consider this as an aspect of research that is an afterthought. All this research ethics, but it's very important. We don't actually pay attention to it because it will not reflect your project. You are not going to write it. It's not a chapter. It does not constitute any chapter in your project. But it is very important because if you do not pay due attention to ethical issues in research, you can get yourself into trouble either intentionally or inadvertently. Now, let's go to the next slide. Now, research ethics provide guidelines for the responsible conduct of research. We say responsible conduct of research. Research ethics educates and monitor scientists conducting research to ensure a high standard in project delivery. Researchers should therefore be familiar with the basic ethical principles and have up-to-date knowledge about policies and procedures designed to ensure that safety of research subjects and to prevent irresponsible research. We are still going to talk about all this. Now, let's look at common ethical issues in research and project writing. Falsification, cooking of data, trimming data obtained from a genuine experiment. Now, one aspect, one form of ethical issue is that it is possible for you to have a genuine research. Hello? Yes. You have genuine research. You actually go to the field and you conducted research. When you come back, you have something in mind. My project should follow this direction. This is the result I should get. So people, if they are not getting that result, they adjust. You just add +1, +2, +3, and then get a particular pattern. They are looking for a particular graph. They didn't get it. So what they do is to add value. They adjust and get that value and explain it. It flows like that because that is the expectation. Whereas in research, in real research, that result that you have obtained is actually genuine. It is going to lead us to another frontier of knowledge. You didn't know because your expectation is that you should go this way. Things are not going that way because something has happened, which is a contribution to knowledge. But you have failed in that direction because you wanted to adjust. Do you understand? And the implication of that is that you are going to be misleading the whole world. And you have also denied the whole world the opportunity of getting a real contribution to knowledge. And that is what you have done. Please, we are advising that you should not falsify figure. There are issues. Sometimes you are not getting something because you did not do something. You can go back to the field. That is what students don't want to hear. Go back to the field and do this. We have been to the field once and then somebody told us something. After filling all the questionnaire, we completed all the questionnaire. He told us that, my brother, what I have told you since is lies. And we have conducted our research. We have completed our questionnaire. He said people have been coming here, they will tell us lies. That when we do this, by the time the product of this research, you are going to tie your roots, you are going to do this and that. So people have been coming to deceive them. It is my turn to also deceive you. And I'm not going to say anything apart from the fact that I have told lies. And that was the end. He didn't tell us anything. So when you do that, you come back. And then you don't just enter any community. You want to carry out research. You go to see the head of that community. Talk to the KBC. Talk to the Bale. The Bale will bring people who will tell you the thing. And when you are going to communities, go with Shinabs. When you are going to see KBC, go to see KBC with Shinabs because you are not bribing him. But that is the way it is done. So can you greet Kabesi and tell Kabesi what you have come to do, and then they will invite people. The opinion leaders in the society will be invited to come and talk with you. That is the way it is done. So if you falsify, you are going to be doing a lot of havoc to yourself, to the community, to the world. Then there's another aspect. We are talking about genuine experiment that was carried out, but adjusted by you because you did not find what you were looking for. The second aspect has to do with fabrication of experiments to obtain or generate data. Okay? This is the most unfortunate and dangerous, as it has the potential to precipitate a wrong premise on which other research might base their investigations. This one, you didn't go to the field at all. You sat down somewhere in your hostel, in your room, and begin to generate data. Behavior of children in so and so. You put something there. You draw a table. Ah, my God, you draw a table. You have seen people. I have caught people physically. Somebody came to, a PhD student came to present seminar and brought falsified figures. He brought figures that were not correct. Unfortunately for him, that permanent sample plot was established by a professor who was the chairman of that seminar. That professor is a Yoruba man. That experiment was established, that sample plot was established in Taraba State when that person was working with Forest Research Institute located in that area. And then the first question was, where is that plot located? He didn't go there at all. He didn't know. The second question came. He couldn't answer because he didn't go there. And then he was asked to go and represent, and he was handed over to SDC. Yes, he left the university. We are still going to talk about that. So when you sit down in your hostel and distribute questionnaires to your classmates to fill for you, that is fabrication data. You are fabricating data. Okay? It's different from falsification. You are generating something that does not exist now. That is what you are generating, based on nothing. Now, the other aspects, the other ethical issues are giving undue credit or failure to give credit to someone on authorship. For instance, you have written a project. If you have written a project and the project is very good, please pay attention. If you have written a project and the project is very good, and you have discovered that that project is publishable, it is an offense for you to go and publish your project alone. Because that study is not entirely your brain. Okay? The name of the supervisor or some people that assisted you substantially during the time of carrying out the project must be in that project, not necessarily the first author. Of course, the way it is done differs. It varies from country to country. In some countries in Europe, the name of the supervisor will come last as the mentor. That is the mentor. The name will come last. The name of the youngest in the list will come first. The first mentee will be first, followed by the mentors, and the senior mentor will be the last author. In some cases, the reverse is the case. The supervisor is the first author, and then the most junior person will be the last author. So, due credit must be given to those who participated. And this is also why some supervisors also do it. Now, failure to secure approval for experimental subjects. This is called ethical approval. If you want to carry out experiments on some people like those with HIV/AIDS, you want to conduct experiments on divorcees, you want to conduct experiments on people, on the commercial sex workers, you have to obtain proper permission. There is a place in Ibadan, for instance, in the College of Medicine, where you apply for ethical approval and they approve whatever you are going to do. They give you approval on the basis of what you are going to do. They look at some criteria, they roll out some criteria for you, and then you read them, you abide by them, and then you sign, and then they give you a letter to go and conduct that experiment. Not until you have done that you will not be able to use the proceeds of this experiment, because when you are publishing these documents, I'm talking of publishing because at this level we do not think about publishing our document. And what we are doing, our project, this project that we're writing is supposed to be contributions to knowledge. Things that people have not done before. If people have done it before, you don't have any business doing it again. Okay, so when you do things that have not been done before, you have to send it to the world for people to see. So when you are publishing papers that have not been properly approved by the ethical approval unit, you cannot publish them in journals of international reports. You can only publish them in local journals. Okay? When you send them out, they will return it to you. That is the implication. Let's have the next slide. Okay, the next slide is plagiarism. This one has direct link with referencing that we talked about the other time. Plagiarism is the act of passing off somebody else's idea, thought, picture, theories, words, or stories as your own. You go to the web and copy documents and write it. No reference, no source. It is an act of plagiarism. Now, there are so many areas. It has so many forms. Okay, some are conducted inadvertently. Some are done intentionally. Let's have the next slide. Now, intentionally takes a passage word for word, put in their own work, and do not properly credit the original author. That is one form. Then sometimes unintentionally, you simply, because person is lazy, you paraphrase and fragment. You just went to the site and copy documents from all over the place and put them together. Some of them are very disjointed. Some of them will copy even the figure number that is not in your page. I have seen it before. When they go to the net, they copy all sorts of documents and put it in there. They put figure 1. You begin to look for figure 1. They put figure 4.6. You look for figure 4, you do not find it is there because they copied the verbatim because of their laziness. They couldn't do that. So this one also constitutes an act of plagiarism. Now, what I'm saying is that whether you commit it intentionally or unintentionally, it is not accepted by the scientific world. So plagiarism as an ethical issue is not accepted anywhere, whether you do it. That is why we say that you should take very little attention to all little details. Pay attention to little details in project writing. You cite properly, because you will get yourself into trouble. When you land yourself in trouble, you're on your own. When you call your supervisor, you will not pick his call. That is when you are in trouble. Now, let's look at this. Human subject protections. We have talked about HIV/AIDS patients, commercial sex workers. You talk about, you conduct research, you get ethical approval. After getting ethical approval to work on HIV/AIDS patients, you have that information. Okay? And you have signed to protect the integrity of those people when you are collecting ethical approval. And then you sit down somewhere and that one of the subjects is passive. Is it alright? Because you have the privilege of knowing that and you're not going to show me. That one is carrying full-blown AIDS. And then you see that for Caesar, that lady that is going, please, for goodness sake, you got ethical approval to protect the integrity of the subject, and you are here. It is an ethical issue that is very, very bad. Please see the next slide. Now, there is something that is also very important, because we are talking about ODL programs. In ODL, you are supposed to be interacting with NET from time to time. If you are not very computer literate, please get in touch with somebody who knows and ask him to assist you. The implication of that is that even though you have signed to protect the integrity of your subjects, what will happen is that by the time you are playing around with this data, it is possible for you to make that data available to unintended people because you don't have enough internet knowledge to protect your data. So get in touch with people that have good knowledge of computer to assist you in protecting your data so that you don't run foul of the rules. If you do, the court will not ask you They will not bail you because they will not release you because you are not internet literate. They will release you because you release that information to the net. They will take it as if you did it deliberately. Now, can we move to the next slide? Now let's talk about sanctions for violating ethical guidelines. We have legal actions. If you plagiarize somebody's work, if you plagiarize my work in the UK, and I know about it, I am a millionaire. I have become a millionaire. I will see legal action against you, and then get a lot of money from you. Professional sanctions. If you do that, your professional body can dismiss you. They can suspend you. And then rustication. Some of you are students here. Once you do and you are reported to the authority, you will face SDC, Student Disciplinary Committee. And once you are found wanting, you either rusticated or you are dismissed from the university. Thank you very much, distinguished. Thank you.